globalization. That is the thing of the past. Globalization is really the thing of the past. We have to start talking about the new word here called regionalization. Have you guys heard of this word before? Regionalization. Globalization is really a phenomenon that happened only in the past 50 years. But if we step back to 200 years history, the world was driven by regionalization and small states prior to globalization. And we are actually moving towards regionalization again, starting from this year onwards. And there's a reason why. At the World Economic Forum, they show every year the collaboration barometer. The only metrics that improved from last year was health.
Mention the word evolution. They said revolution. There's a big difference, right? Evolution is when you gradually evolve, right? You develop on top of existing legacy system, you evolve. But revolution is when there's a new invention that arrive and replace the old system and can outperform an old system by an order of magnitude, right? Meaning that we have to change the way we think, we have to change the way we operate in order to win the next business models of the future. Coming back to green, I can share with you that green may be more scarier than digital disruption. Because with digital, if you don't adopt digital technology, you're gradually losing, but you don't die right away, but you're gradually losing. But for green, within 6 years, if the state companies, private companies, do not have the green transition strategy, you guys will no longer have the license to operate. Not even a license to compete. Because you cannot export after 6 years. You can only consume Thai rice, say in Thailand, we can only consume Thai rice domestically, right? You cannot do business with publicly listed companies. Biggest funds of the world cannot invest in your companies anymore. And most importantly, you cannot take out loans from the bank. Banks will not be allowed to provide loans to SMEs, MSMEs that are still doing the apple and red color. Right? They can only provide the green color loan. So green transition is very important. Okay? And my fourth point to share is that the world is moving towards becoming more competitive in terms of free zone. I attended so many conferences this year and I'm very fortunate. Last week, I met the Prime Minister of Bhutan. Even Bhutan, have you guys been to Bhutan? It's a country with only less than 1 million people, 700,000 people. And do you know that Bhutan is opening up the country to the rest of the world? They say that 10% of Bhutanese young entrepreneurs left the country because there's no opportunity for them. They all left and find jobs in Australia. 17,000 people, 10% of Bhutanese. And now the government, the Prime Minister of Bhutan, is allocating land on the south of Bhutan, three times the size of Singapore, into becoming a free economic zone, free taxes, free corporate income tax, free VAT, free withholding, free personal income tax, free all kinds of taxes. And they're giving out 1 million citizenships. This is coming from a country with less than 1 million population. They're giving out 1 million citizenship in this, they call it mindfulness city, right? And I can tell you with honesty, I attended Davos for 3 years. I have been offered 3 citizenships already, right, by head of states. We're in this competitiveness of talent war. We're no longer competing domestically. Have you guys been to Dubai? Have you seen a video of a frying pan out of the window? And put the egg outside the window and you can really fry the egg. 50 degrees temperature, right, in Dubai. Nobody can really live in that desert, right? But if you go to Dubai, they're full of Rolls Royce everywhere. All of the richest people in the world are in Dubai. They are given golden visa, 10 years visa, right? Tax-free, all kinds of taxes. We're competing not just within ourselves. We're competing not within just ASEAN. We are competing globally for the right talents. We are competing globally for investments, capital. Because every country has realized that in order to invest in critical infrastructure like AI, big data, 3D printing, IoT devices, AR, VR, MR technology, it requires a lot of money and government cannot do this alone. They need to compete for private money to enter the country. And not just within Laos or within Thailand, where universities are not able to keep up with training students with the right skill sets. The rest of the world is experiencing the same issue. With the arrival of AI, within the next 5 years, 44% of our skill sets would become obsolete, including myself. Half of our capabilities will become obsolete in the next 5 years. The world is moving very fast. Universities are not able to train graduates with the right skill sets. And this is happening globally. And in order to uplift human capital for the country, we need to compete for the right talents, blockchain talents, AI talents, to be in the country by giving out golden visas, citizenships of the world. And I can tell you, even Bhutan is now competing. A country, a capital, a Buddhism capital of the world is now competing with the rest of the world for talents, right? And they're going to turn this mindfulness city into AI city, into blockchain city, into sustainable city. Again, digital green revolution. The same direction of where the world is heading. So my fourth point here is that Laos really need to have an open, welcoming, ease of doing business, right? Rules of law. So to make sure that entrepreneurs, business people would see Laos as an attractive option to invest in this country, to create a company in Laos, to bring in talents into Laos, to bring in foreign capital into Laos, to help improve critical infrastructure of the future because all industries have officially stopped growing. And my last point is that we should not leave people behind. Inclusive. World's leaders, they're no longer talking about aggressive growth. They're talking about responsible growth. Right? Responsible growth. We should not leave people behind. We should talk about silver economy because everyone is getting older. We should redefine social contract. Right now in Thailand, for example, the working population is maintaining the young and the old population in Thailand, right? And we need to make sure that we can import talents because the study shows that immigrants are actually a net contributor of GDP. We need to redefine social contract. We are getting older and we need to work longer. We need to fix the pre-education system because in Thailand we used to have 4 years of traditional education that would prepare us for 30 years of work, of our career, of work life, right? Of our work life. But since the retirement age is pushed further down the line, we live longer, we work longer. 4 years of traditional education no longer suffice. We need to fix our pre-distribution to make sure that university education would prepare us not for 30 years of work, but for 50 years of work. We need to redefine social contract. We need to understand the future of work, that in my generation onwards, one employee would be working for 10 companies at the same time. We call this nano contractors, charging companies for $5, $10 per contract. And they would be sitting next to the beach, next to the mountain, becoming a remote first company. Who is going to pay for provident funds going forward, right? So this is an economist problem that we with the government on how to redefine social contract and how to make sure that we have an inclusive, responsible economy going forward. I have 2 minutes left. Let me leave you with one last important point. For Thailand, we have been stuck in the middle income trap over the past 20 years. And we're still the same. We're not... Expected to grow at least 1.5 times once this DEFA agreement is signed. Right, 150%. That is a lot. But LDC countries, Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia, we expect to grow 300 to 500% once 60% of the DEFA agreement is signed. We have a smaller base as a country, right? Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia. We can grow at a much faster rate, 300 to 500% going forward. Meaning that the first insight, regionalization is coming, and we're signing this. It's not just a basic MOU, guys. It's a legally binding MOU that 10 countries in ASEAN are coming together to form as one ASEAN strong. And everyone, the 10 countries, would be benefited from a larger market size, market share. Imagine there is a reason why investors, global investors, were not interested in our region in the past. Because when they were seeing Thailand, right, for example, my country, if they were going to invest in Thailand, the maximum market share they could get access to is only 70 million people in the past, right? If the global investors were eyeing Laos in the past, maximum market share is 7 million people. But going forward, I'm telling you the secrets. Once the DEFA agreement is signed, global investors can either invest in Thailand or in Laos or in Vietnam, but they will get access to 600 million people, fourth largest economy in the world, going forward, meaning that the risk and the reward ratio is much greater, much more attractive for global investors to be investing in ASEAN region very soon. What is DEFA, right? What is happening in DEFA? There are three major things that are happening. First is what we call ASEAN single window, free flow of goods and services. Meaning that in the future, when you're doing businesses, you no longer have to send goods and services just domestically. We are working on the standardization of goods and services throughout the ASEAN region, 10 countries. All these custom clearances, import, exports, standardization, we are allowing velocity of goods and services to free flow. Right? That's one of the main agreement of the DEFA. The second thing that would happen is that there will be a mobility of talents. How many of you have been to Europe? There is one visa called Schengen visa, right? With one visa, one passport, you can travel to any countries in Europe. Similar thing is happening in ASEAN. Very soon, with one passport, one visa, people can travel through 10 countries within ASEAN region in a frictionless manner. And lastly, regional payment integration. 6 out of the 10 countries have successfully integrated payment infrastructure together already. In Thailand, for domestic payments, there's no fee anymore. There's no bank charges. You can transfer from Bangkok to Chiang Mai to Phuket in a frictionless, instant manner. Very soon, you will see the same thing throughout ASEAN. There will be a free flow of payments throughout ASEAN region. In short, DEFA agreement will allow free flow of people, free flow of goods and services, free flow of payments to happen. If we take one step backwards, if we integrate 3 critical infrastructure together as one, we are pretty much saying that ASEAN is one country strong, right? One ASEAN strong, 600 million population, 4th largest economy in the world. It will trigger a lot of interest for global investors
to invest in our region. I see a lot of young entrepreneurs today, and I can tell you guys that we are a much luckier generation compared to the previous generation. Because very soon, there'll be an unprecedented amount of investment entering the region. More than any of our parents' generation, grandparents' generation could have ever imagined. ASEAN is entering our golden era. Right? That is the first insight. We really need to work together as a region. We really need to achieve the scale needed, right? And if we don't work together, if we are not pushing towards regionalization, what is going to happen as one small single state, right? First of all, we will be forced to choose sides, whether we want to go with the US or if we want to go with China, right? Because we have very small voice. We need a bigger collective voice as one ASEAN strong so that we don't need to choose sides. And there are many other reasons why ASEAN will enter its golden era. The second reason is that the rest of the world is aging already. ASEAN, we are young, full of young people, right? The average working population in the Philippines is 30 years old. The average working population in Indonesia is 25 years old, right? Vietnam, full of young, people working, right? Whereas the rest of the world is aging. So ASEAN is becoming very attractive for global investors to invest going forward. Third, we have rich natural resource. Fourth, the wage level is much lower compared to the rest of the world, right? Fifth, US no longer trusts China. China no longer trusts the US. There will be a decentralization of supply chain out of China. Decentralized manufacturing model out of China. All of the secondary economy and the primary economy will be migrated to Southeast Asian region. Another reason is because of the wage level of China is too high. It's no longer economical to be producing manufacturing and primary and secondary economy in China, whereas China is moving towards tertiary economy. So manufacturing, traditional supply chain will be moving towards ASEAN region, right? So we are becoming one ASEAN strong, right? That is the first most important insights. The second most important insight about where the world is heading is that, I'm sorry to say, but I have to speak the truth here. The old industries have officially stopped growing. There's no premium left, guys, from the old traditional industries. And this is not coming from me. Premier Li Xiang, Prime Minister of China, he said that old industries is all about price cutting now. We're engaging in red ocean competition. Since the Industrial Revolution up to today, all of the traditional skill sets is no longer competitive. We can only compete on price. In order for the world to keep growing, we have to invest in science and technology revolution, right? There are three words that world leaders use interchangeably. Science and technology revolution, frontier technology, or the fourth industrial revolution. They are really meaning the same thing here. What do they mean, right? When they say fourth industrial revolution, when they say frontier technology, when they say deep technology, they meant AI. That's one of the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution. They meant blockchain technology as another pillar of the science and technology revolution. They meant 3D printing as another infrastructure needed for the future growth. They meant internet from the sky, right? They meant AR, VR, MR technology, where internet will become three-dimensional going forward. How many of you have listened to the latest talk by Mark Zuckerberg? I think a few days ago. He said by 2030, there'll be no phones left. Only goggles, only glasses. By 6 years from now, internet is moving towards three-dimensional, not two-dimensional. right? 3D, AR, VR, MR technology is another critical pillar of the future, right? They meant longevity, right? These are the new critical infrastructure of the future that China, Vietnam, they're rapidly inviting foreign investors to invest in these critical infrastructure of the future. They call this science and technology revolution. In order for the country to keep growing, we have to invest in new technology. The old industries have officially stopped growing. There is no premium left, right? And we can no longer do this alone as a public sector or as one government. We can no longer do this alone as a private sector either, because it costs a lot of money to invest in critical infrastructure. So there's this word appearing on global stage recently called PPP, public and private partnership. Government can no longer do this alone. Private sector can no longer do this alone. It's all about partnership going forward. And the ability for countries like our ASEAN countries to be attractive enough to bring global investors to invest in our region. Luckily, there are headwinds on our side. There are a few headwinds that I shared with you earlier. First, we are countries of young population, right? We have natural resource. We have much lower wage level. We have peace and stability. That is the most important thing going forward. Investors want peace and stability. And ASEAN countries are able to provide peace and stability, right? So we have headwinds on our side, but we need to make our country to become more competitive in terms of the ease of doing business. How do we make sure that companies can create, open company easily within one day, right? Within a few hours? How do we make company registration easy? How do we bring foreign talents inside our country to lift up, to reskill, upskill our people very quickly, right? How do we make sure that our education system is able to keep up with what the industry, what skill sets the companies need in the future? Vietnam, by the way, primarily to invest in critical infrastructure, meaning AI, big data, 3D printing, IoT devices, AR, VR, MR technology, internet from the sky, longevity, right? And this will cost a lot of money, and government cannot do this alone. We need to have flexible policies to attract foreign investors to invest in our region. Apart from having the right policies and ease of doing business, we need to make sure that our universities, schools, education system can keep up with the relevant skill sets needed for the future, right? That is my second insight. ASEAN is entering its golden era, but if we cannot have flexible policies, we will miss the boat. I can tell you. The money, the investment, and unprecedented amount of investment that will come into our region will not enter Laos, will not enter Thailand, if we don't have flexible policies and the right skill sets. We will miss the boat, right? But ASEAN is really entering its golden era. We should really take this opportunity. We should really maximize this opportunity. And every ministers that I meet at Davos, they know this. They know this trend. Everyone from ASEAN know this trend, right? My third insight to all of you entrepreneurs is that green transition is coming for sure this time. It is serious this time. Forget about greenwashing, guys. That's a thing of the past. Leaders are now very serious about green transition. How many of you have heard of CBAM? Carbon pricing, carbon tax. Do you guys know that within the next 6 years, let's give my country as an example, Thailand. In the next 6 years, Thai farmers will no longer be able to export rice to Europe. And this year at Summer Davos in Thailand, Prime Minister of Vietnam announced to global leaders that Vietnam is the first country to be able to produce high quality, low methane rice in the world. right? Very competitive. Meaning that within the next 6 years, Thai farmers will not be able to export Thai rice to anywhere in the world outside Thailand. We will only be consuming Thai rice domestically. We're going to be losing a lot of income. In other words, Thailand will no longer have the license to operate on a global scale. We will no longer have a license to do business with the rest of the world if we are not able to transition the way we produce things or service things to reach net zero requirements. I don't know if you have heard of recent incidents in the Thai stock exchange. Now Thai stock exchange hits the lowest point, I think in the last 10 years. This is the lowest point because of the governance issue. Now we start to hear the word ESG, right? ESG, environment, social, and governance. Thailand really had this governance issue of not having transparent, business ethics, not having proper, governance, corporate governance. And foreign investors are really pulling out liquidity outside of Thailand. And now stock exchange is performing at the lowest point. But I can tell you, this is nothing. In the next 6 years, the main issue will not be the G. The main issue will be the E, environment. Within the next 6 years, the biggest funds of the world, like BlackRock, they said that they will no longer be able to invest in companies that are not meeting the net zero requirements. Right now, it's only optional for some companies to not trust Thai stock exchange and pull out their liquidity. It's only optional. But in the next 6 years, it will become mandatory. Companies that are not being able to meet the green initiatives will not be able to have foreign investors investing in their stocks. But that's only phase 1. When we reach phase 3, investors will also look at not just the publicly listed companies itself reaching net zero requirements, but they will also follow through to see the activities if the publicly listed companies are still working or procuring products or services from companies outside of the Thai stock exchange that are not meeting net zero requirements. Meaning that all the SMEs, MSMEs, will not be able to export outside of Thailand, outside of Laos. SMEs and MSMEs will not be able to do business.
Where the real money is in the next 10 years. For Thailand, it's stuck in the middle of the country for 20 years now. We're really not moving. Because if you look at Thai GDP, we only have one activity as a country. We rely on physical trade, physical trades, tangible products. Export of rice, something tangible. Export of rubber, something tangible, right? Export of automobiles parts, tangible. But if you look at advanced economies like China, 44% of its GDP comes from digital economy already. Almost half of the world's second largest economy in the world comes from digital economy. I would like to introduce 4 new activities of GDP for you guys quickly. And these are where all the opportunities lie, where all the monies will be made, where all the money will be made of the future, right, in the future. We do not need physical trade anymore, guys, going forward. We have been relying on physical trade for a long time. Similar to Laos, I think. Laos and Thailand are very similar. Going forward, we need digital trade. Right? We need to foster, cherish companies that accelerate digital trade for the country. Something no longer tangible, right? Not tangible, but digital trade. We need to foster service trade as a second type of activity, the new type of GDP. We need to foster digital service trade. and AI will accelerate digital service trade for every country going forward. And lastly, we need to foster green trade. Right? Last year, green trade grew 300%, 3x, 3 times. Last year, in Thailand, we only rely on physical trade, ancient, old skills, right? Something tangible, rubber, rice, automobile parts. But that's why we're stuck, right? Really stuck at the middle income trap. There's no premium left. There's no profit margin. There's not enough profit margin to uplift the wage level of my country, similar to Laos. Going forward, we need to cherish, we need to foster digital trade. We need to foster service trade. We need to foster digital service trade. And lastly, we need to foster green trade. That's where the opportunities lie. Remember guys, time's up. 3 words. Digital, green, revolution. Thank you so much. Thank you.
ขอบใจค่ะท็อปจี้ซับซีโซภาสำหรับการบรรยายอีกครั้งหนึ่งต้องขออภัยประธานแขกที่มีเกียรติทุกท่าน
สินค้าลาวก้าวสู่สากล
Local international trade start from sells by